Okay, so welcome back everybody, welcome back to this video. I'm glad that you're back, and today I'm just going to be breaking down a Nasdaq trade that I took, and I'll be explaining what exactly I saw, how I planned the trade, my entry, my exit, and my logic that I used, as well as the lessons that I took away from this trade. So let's get straight right into the video. So starting off from the daily time frame, Starting off from the daily time frame, I had seen that price had opened above the previous day's opening price, and initially I was anticipating for price to get back into these ultimate highs that we can have here, because we made a huge dump below and prices started making its retracement back above. So I knew that the end goal is going to be this ultimate highs, which is why I have them marked out here. I think the ultimate high was made on 31st of July. So that is the high that I was targeting, and that's kind of where I started from the daily time frame to get my bias for the day, to get my institutional order flow for the day. But for me to get the real liquidity the price is aiming for, I start from the 1 hour time frame. So if you drop down into the 1 hour time frame, notice that price had recently traded into the discounted consequent encroachment of this bullish range, and that was when I saw that price traded into this discounted area, but it didn't last long here. So I noticed that price traded back into this consequent encroachment of this. Let me just do this. There's too many lines. So I noticed that price had traded back into the consequent encroachment of this bullish range and didn't last long there. Gave us this change in state of delivery, rebalanced, and then pushed back above. So at this point, I could already ascertain that my bias for the day was bullish to get back into these highs, basically from what I've seen on the 1 hour time frame. So if I can drop back into now the 15-minute time frame, I was able to see that. Remember, we already know that from the high time frames we're seeking up buy side liquidity. So at this point, we're nearing to the New York Open, and I see this spit bump. Where is this spit bump? This spit bump happened from a old new week opening gap, and we know that these are points in the market that price easily respects them, or it will easily return back to these areas. So I watched this speed bump, and I was very confident, going into the open, that we were going to continue being bullish. However, just before the New York session, let me just remove this extension. So just before the New York Open, I noticed that we had a little bit of a tight range, and that actually made sense because at that point we had Trump was speaking at 10 a.m. So it actually made sense to me that no wonder we have a consolidation or a tight range right before the market open. Smart money could use Trump's speaking as a manipulation and then push price to where it wants to go to. So that was what I noticed, and after seeing that, I had to wait. That was when I got the confirmation that even if I'm to go bullish, I would want to see a manipulation lower. So I'm going to explain as to why my bias actually changed now from being bullish. So remember, in 15 minutes, we see that we have price remain in this tight range. The next thing, obviously, laws of accumulation, manipulation, and distribution. What I want is, I've seen the accumulation phase occur. So next thing that I want to see is I want to see a manipulation phase occur before I actually take part in the distribution phase. So that was one clear clue for me that we have to wait, because why all of a sudden do we have this manipulation? Why do we have this accumulation, right before the New York Open, So if we go down to the 5-minute time frame, and in regards to the 15-minute time frame, I also saw that price had just taken out the high. So I can tell you that this was a previous high that price had taken. me just change the color so it's more obvious. So this high, notice how price took out this high and made this market structure shift, and the candles are randomly, in quotes, not failing to go above it. So already that was something that was speaking volume to me. And so if we go down to the 5-minute time frame, you can see that it was very clear the price was in a very tight range. And we also remember had news at 8:30. So notice this candle, we also had news at 8:30, and what do we see immediately after this news? And remember, we have news here as well as Trump speaking at 10 a.m. That is about here. We have Trump speaking at 10 a.m. So it's not a random coincidence that price decided to consolidate right before the open and before Trump's speaking. So, and right now, at that moment, like I said before, we were currently trading coming from a very tight range. That was clear accumulation, manipulation, distribution in play, and I just had to tell myself to be patient. So we see this high taken out, we have a much clearer market structure shift. After the 8:30 news, we have price consolidate. The next thing that you want to see is, okay, in terms of Trump speaking, I want to go in and I want to see where is the manipulation gonna happen, because at this point it didn't really look like price was gonna keep following the bullish bias, even though we had already ascertained that from the higher time frames. So, and I know that because of the way Trump has been speaking, there has been a lot of volatility and reaction in these markets. So I just reminded myself that it's much better for you to let the opening range go and trade after Trump speaking, because what I know, especially from what I've learned from ICT, is that usually when we have this news, especially red folder news, orange folder news, it is highly likely that smart money will use it as a manipulation to later push price into the direction that they actually want to go to. So you just have to, it was just a matter of being patient enough for the market to print. So that was what I saw. We were coming from a very tight range. And then obviously if we go into the 1 minute time frame, we have much clearer price action. So we have much clearer price action, and that was when now I saw right at the open we had this manipulation. But the reason why I didn't regard this manipulation from 9:30 to 10 is because I knew that we had volatile news that was coming into the market at 10. Not just any news, but Trump was speaking, President Trump was speaking at 10 a.m. So I had to be very cautious of that. And I have seen how price has reacted every time we have Trump speaking. More 90% of the time, it's a manipulation move. I know I would have honestly I would have taken long positions here, but because of the Trump speaking, I've backtested this. I have seen this happen to me a lot of times, and whenever I have high impact news coming in at 10 a.m., I always let go of the opening range, the first 30 minutes after the opening range. So if we can go back to the 15-minute time frame after the New York Open, it's very clear to see that we now have this manipulation higher coming from a very tight range. So that was our manipulation higher. And of course, after seeing this, that is why it is so important whenever you trade, don't just be fixated on the trade that you're taking, on the time frame that you're taking. Keep checking the 5-minute, keep checking the 15-minute, because sometimes the candles, the way they print in the 1 minute, it's quite different from what the 15 or the 5 can print, So use this as a way of getting your confirmation. If you get a confirmation of a manipulation in the 1 minute, you should probably go to the 5-minute, 15-minute. Is it saying the same thing? I wouldn't really say 1 hour, but your focus should be, you should get the confirmation on the 1 minute time frame, at least from the 5 minute or the 1 minute time frame. So even if you don't look at the 15, but sometimes it's crucial to look at the 15, you know. So when I went on the 15 time frame, it was so clear that we had this manipulation above here, and I just had to position myself. At this point, when I saw this manipulation, I was like, okay, since we're coming from external range liquidity, which is right now we have taken that high, where is the discounted internal range that price can seek to offload these higher prices at fair value? First place we can look at is this internal range liquidity, and lower if price wanted to go lower. So bottom line is that I wanted to see that from the first presentation fair value gap, I wanted to see if price could deliver more than 50 points to that internal range, and you can see for me, according to my rules, it gives me double of what I actually wanted to see. So that was a good target point, take profit point for my trade. First, if we go to the 1 minute time frame, my entry time frame, I noticed that we had a lot of choppiness right after the open, preceding the Trump's news release, and that was when I said we've seen a lot of choppiness, so I'm probably gonna wait for the manipulation that I wanted to see whichever manipulation happened at 10 a.m. That is the manipulation that we're gonna carry, and it should be in accordance to what price had printed already. So coming from an internal range, I considered the 10 a.m. manipulation, but I still kept my first presentation fair value gap at 938, and I still used that to enter. And that was when, now after the 10 a.m. news, I saw price do this. Initially, if this was accumulation manipulation above, where do you expect smart money to push these longs to? A discounted sell side. That's what they're going to be seeking. So after the manipulation, you want to see a distribution to the downside. And so after seeing the manipulation and we see price heavily pump, this was my confirmation. Remember, my playbook requires me to wait for the gap to close below the first presentation fair value gap, and we trade back into it. So after I saw this candle close below, I waited for price to trade back into it, and my target was the internal range liquidity below. So I'm just going to show you my executions. That's where I entered. So entered near Y. Okay, execution levels. I don't know why it's not showing. I'm just gonna put a screenshot here to show my entry and exit, and that was how I traded the market that day. So I hope you guys liked this explanation, and if you like this content, make sure you like and follow, subscribe, and comment for more. That's all for now. Peace out.